Hello! Welcome from Huntington Beach. It's another Saturday and another day to read a chapter from my book, Going Alone. This is the dinged up, danged up, banged up copy that I've got. It's a blustery day, but it feels cold, but blustery, windy yesterday. The wind is blowing the other way today. It's blowing offshore, giving a nice kind of a back splash on the waves, on some of the waves. But it's still, nevertheless, it feels like spring. It really does. It feels like we've turned a corner of sorts. So let's go ahead and do this. This is a short chapter. I'll just place the camera over here. And they're just getting the lifeguard tower. That's another thing that makes it feel like spring. See the lifeguard tower there? They just moved it. It was back up the beach because of the storms. And they just came through with a tractor and pulled it up. And this gentleman here with his, let me switch the camera. And then I can zoom in a little bit. He's cleaning up the area around it. There's a lot of debris on the beach from the recent storms, driftwood and stuff from inland that came down the rivers. So he piled it on, and there's a skip loader way down there. You can see it with its shovel, and it's piling great mounds of sand in front of the towers. You can see this tower right here. Tower 20 has its sand in front of it, and then he's working on Tower 22 down further. And that sand will become the lifeguards will be able to jump off and go and rescue people in the ocean if they need to. That's Long Beach down there, by the way. If you look closely, you can see the big white dome that used to house the spruce goose. Oh, there it is. You see the white dome right in the center? Sorry, it's a little jiggery. I'm zoomed in. And the Queen Mary, the great ocean liner, is near that. But that used to house Howard Hughes' spruce goose. It's the port of Long Beach. And they're going to come back to do the skipjack on that. And you can see this tower here, number 16, has its sand. And there's the Huntington Beach Pier. It's altogether a very nice day. Good day for a book reading. And then Yumiko and I will have a good day together doing our shopping. And Emily and her boyfriend Chris are coming by for dinner tonight. We can't wait. So let's read The Writing Bridge from Going Alone. This is the third chapter. And I know it's kind of redundant because in the chapter immediately before that, called The Cast, I actually have a section in there about the writing bridge, and it sounds like I'm kind of covering the same thing. In fact, the writing bridge in the cast, it gives it a description of it. The writing bridge kind of deserved its own treatment because it was the source, I say was, no longer is, the source of inspiration for the writing of the book. And here you go. Here's the chapter of the writing bridge, and there's an actual image there that was made by my daughter. That's me sitting under the bridge, writing away. Let's read. The writing bridge, where I wrote the story. And a quote. "We must go alone. I like the silent church before the service begins better than any preaching." Ralph Waldo Emerson. Siberia Ghost Town in the East Mojave Desert is flanked on the north by the BNSF railroad line, which runs east and west through a great expanse of otherwise quite empty desert. On the other side of the ghost town, running parallel to the railroad, is Route 66, or the Mother Road, as it is sometimes called. Both corridors of traffic, rail and road, have existed here in various forms of improvement for more than 100 years. I first found Siberia Ghost Town after spotting from the road the lone standing stone wall which now serves as the center of the empty community which once was. I noted the wall while driving eastbound on Route 66, probably just as I was driving over the bridge which would later factor so significantly in the tale of the writing of this book. I certainly did not notice the bridge when I passed over it that first day back in 2015. I was simply exploring the East Mojave by car, moving slowly along Route 66, checking the road on either side for anything of interest for potential exploration. In fact, I wasn't looking for anything near the highway in particular, as I wasn't much interested in anything too close to the civilizing touch of either the highway or the railroad, and I was instead searching for good places where I could safely park my car some distance away from the road while I went for a long desert hike. So, when I saw the ruins of Siberia, I wasn't drawn to these for their own sake, but instead to the fact of a relatively well-maintained, short dirt road which left the highway leading to what appeared to be the ruins of a very old building. "That'll do," I probably said as I flicked on the left turn signal and made my way carefully off the Route 66 asphalt and onto the dusty road. The distance from the highway to the ruins is about the length of a football field, not far at all, and the dirt road is in good shape, seemingly well-traveled and well-maintained. I would later learn that this was due to the ongoing attention of the railroad workers, trackmen, signalmen, linemen, railroad police, and others who make their living keeping this stretch of railroad in safe operational order. I would later come to know some of these men, swell guys, honest, hard-working men, people I respect. And I always strive to stay out of their way when I'm at Siberia, and never allow myself to become a nuisance to their hard, honest labor. In fact, I have found labor here too, of a sort. Though I am never paid for my efforts, Siberia has become a quite effective work site and source of inspiration for me for both my writing and my videos, as well as my every effort of improved living. The ghost town, and in particular the bridge under the highway near the town, are where my desert muse does seem to live and reside. Live, despite the fact my muse is quite dead and non-existent, a figment of my imagination. Alive, in a sense, only as long as I live and have the will and the way and the motive force to breathe life into something only my own musings might create. My muse did find me here in the desert, in the ghost town of Siberia. Oh boy, he's having a bad day. At first I thought he was doing that Japanese thing of yelling at the sea or yelling into the wind. He's yelling, he's talking on the phone, and that's too bad. There's a gentleman down there yelling, having a very, what I would call a Feast of Offal, right? Poor guy. Older man, my age. Well, I won't be a voyeur. Let's continue. It looks like he's all right, but not all right. Where was I? The ghost town, and in particular the bridge under the highway near the town, are where my desert muse does seem to live and reside. Live, despite the fact my muse is quite dead and non-existent, a figment of my imagination. Alive, in a sense, only as long as I live, and have the will and the way and the motive force to breathe life into something only my own musings might create. My muse did find me here in the desert, in the ghost town of Siberia. She did then follow me far out into the desert, where she mostly shadowed my movements, nearly always silent, refusing to speak to me among the holy relics of the dead mountains and forgotten wastes of a landscape that never cared and never lived and never knew or loved or possessed any dear sentiment, thought, or capability which our species might attribute to life. My muse was my unloving, unfeeling, unthinking, and unliving imagined escort through a place where I could never pass without her attentive ministrations and silent whispered hints of something more to be found beyond my adventures and excursions, something to be found in the place I'd left behind, In a life I must love, should love ever be anything to dissuade the emptiness it was then too late to unsee or forget. The muse is my desert voice, a silent soliloquy and homage to what I can never truly know, or share, or escape from. My muse resides and originates from under that desert bridge. See, that's why I had to write the chapter in addition to the summary that I did in the chapter titled The Cast. This chapter really goes into greater depth and coverage about what the bridge meant to me and the importance that it played in the writing of the book. So, what part does the bridge at Siberia play in all of this? Was there some poetry to be found beneath the girders and beams holding up the highway? Did the muse follow me from somewhere else in the desert or Japan to that place in the shade beneath the road? Does my muse live there still while I am away? No. Can the muse be found there after I am gone? No. Or if someone ever came with me to the desert? Hell no. Could never be found that way. Let's let the motorcycle pass. Why the bridge? What role does that place play in this story? Shade and shelter are the answers. A refuge from the heat and fury of the desert summer. I came to the bridge out of necessity, and then discovered a place of catalyst for what I might immodestly call my art. The first time I went to the bridge, I did so simply to get out of the sun and escape the heat. The heat, so impossibly intense there in the deep East Mojave during summer. There's truly no rest from the blaze in the open desert. The sunlight out there can surely kill. So much energy piling on across whatever skin is exposed. A real threat, nothing to take lightly. So, on a very hot July day in 2016, I decided to pack some water and a few necessities and hike the quarter-mile to the nearest of two bridges which I could see supporting Route 66 to the east and west of Siberia, where flash flood arroyo crossed under the road. The first time I did this, I went to the bridge to the east of Siberia. It is a good bridge, and I found some interesting things below it, including a travel book written in Japanese with a hand-penned note, again in Japanese, on the back. The note was written by a man who declared that he would not die away from home and that he would make it back alive. I went back to that bridge again a few months later. The Japanese book was still there. The shade was good there. It was a fine place to rest and find shelter. The bridge served well the important purpose I was then after. And just a note, the book is long gone. Its flash flood must have washed it away in the years since. It was not until a year later before I tried that other bridge, the bridge to the west. I decided to visit that other bridge when I realized the western bridge was closer to the Siberia ruins than the eastern bridge. The fact of being close was good, as it allowed me to better keep an eye on my motorcycle parked back at the ghost town ruins, which I periodically check on by popping my head out from under the bridge to make sure nobody is loading my bike onto a truck or setting a match to the gas tank to create a desert bonfire. There was also something good about the space below the western bridge, though there is not much headroom down there, but there is also something more. The sand is very soft and good for sitting. It is a good place to plop down and think. And that is how the writing got started. Just sitting on the soft sand below the bridge, with the sun roasting the desert beyond my shade, and the sound of periodic automobiles crossing fast overhead, and the frequent rumble and growl of mile-long freight trains moving by slowly a quarter-mile to the north. This setting under the western Route 66 bridge became my place at Siberia Ghost Town, a sort of circumstance and atmosphere where I could cultivate and get to know better the muse I'd met earlier out there at the edge of the blank desert wilderness. a dead muse who seemed willing and able to follow me sometimes to the places where I go, and where I am willing and able to think. To think without much distraction I cannot willingly ignore. To think where the conventions of my kind and the ways of our collective consensus appear as weak sentiments, easily put aside in favor of whatever else can be proven more sound and compelling. This is the bridge where I wrote much of the content found within Going Alone, especially the content under the heading Notes from My Muse. This is the bridge where I discovered the solution of developing a life of meaning in the face of a universe which seems so far devoid of intrinsic meaning or purpose beyond the mute scope of survival and the worthy act of passing our life from ourselves into those who will soon take our place. This is the home of my desert muse, and the place where I found the words of the story I do now choose to tell. And that's the end of the chapter titled The Writing Bridge, which kind of sets the place and springboard for how most of the book was written, and the is it inspiration or more of like a catalytic sentiment that allowed me to do that. And with that, I'll finish. And what a way to finish. What a absolutely beautiful dawn. It's going to be really nice today. I'll be able to take the jacket off soon. And let me show you around. Switch the camera. So there we go, back the other way. And there's the beach. There's a couple of surfers out there already. See these guys? They're surfing on the inside track. There's a couple of guys over there too. You can see there's the outer break too. The waves are iffy, so-so. Tanker out there. You can't quite see the island out there. There's a big island out there. Couple of surfers heading out right there. You can see there's a bunch of people gathered on the beach, maybe. Thanks for joining me. I wish you all the best. Be safe, but not too safe. Take care. Oh, I should check to see if there's any comment. I always forget. Good morning. Oh, it's Andy. Hi, Andy. Good morning, Andy. Look at those clouds. Yeah, it's a beautiful day, Andy. I hope you and Chie have a great day. Take care.